I'm Sarah, and this is Budgetsew, where we create stylish, fashionable looks as inexpensively as possible. In a previous video, I shortened one of my blazers into a bolero. In this video, we're going to turn the remaining blazer into a bag. This was an H&M blazer that I bought a few years ago for less than $10 from Value Village. Sorting through my closet, I felt that I had too many black blazers, so I decided to donate this one because it was in excellent condition. As I went through my closet, I saw this dress and tried to figure out how I could be more covered up, but nothing I owned seemed to work with the dress. I usually wear this dress in the evening to go to the theater or the opera, but sometimes I get cold. I wanted the option of covering up my arms in case I became too chilled, so I restyled the blazer into a bolero. The link to the video with that DIY is right here at the top of the screen.
To make my purse, I used the remaining blazer fabric, a zipper and 2 D-rings from an old purse, and 3 buttons removed from a second-hand blazer that wore out. My first step was to unpick the stitching on the side seams of the blazer. The front piece of the blazer will be used for the body of the purse, and the lining pieces will be used for the lining. I had a little bit of difficulty unpicking the lining. It didn't come apart as quickly as the exterior fabric because of the serging stitches. They were quite tight. I absolutely love my bolero. It's the perfect complement to my beautiful cutwork Lorraine dress by Ralph Lauren. I lengthened this dress by 7 inches so that it fell below the knee. To find out how I lengthen dresses, check out my video. The link is at the top of the screen. Then I checked to see if the pocket was functional. Since it was, I unpicked the stitching, holding it closed. When I buy a blazer, I don't unpick the pockets because I don't use them and I want the blazer to lay flat. I don't unpick the back pockets on my pants either. Then I unpicked the side piece from the back. The sides and back will be used together for the bag's shoulder strap. The purse that I got the zipper and D-rings from was a Liz Claiborne bag that I bought from Value Village thrift store. I used it for a few years and it eventually wore out, but there were parts of the bag that were still good. I had a thick black zipper with big gold teeth, and the big gold zipper pull had a knotted leather tassel. The gold D-rings that held the strap to the purse were still in great shape, so I saved those too. When I bought the purse from Value Village, it was missing the long shoulder strap, so I removed the strap from another purse that I had and clipped it onto this one. The black buttons, trimmed in gold, came from a second-hand blazer that I wore out. The buttons were really pretty, so I saved them. If a garment I own wears out and can't be donated, I cut off the buttons, pretty decorative trims, and zippers to be used again on something new that I make. The blazer that I used for my bolero had not worn out, but I needed something to wear with my cutwork dress. I had multiple black blazers in my closet, so I didn't mind losing one for this project. If I need another one, I can always go thrifting. Then I unpicked the stitching holding the back two pieces together and the lining. For years and years and years, I went without a seam ripper. I never owned one before this blue one. I always borrowed my mom's or used my thread scissors. I bought this one off Amazon.ca about 2 or 3 years ago. Next, I unpicked the hem on the back pieces. If you didn't refashion your blazer into a bolero with me and want to complete this project, then cut the bottom third off a blazer. The other 2/3 may be used to make a bolero or a vest if you remove the sleeves. I like the idea of a cropped vest with some added trims. I'll add that to my list of refashion ideas. Then I pinned the two front pieces together along the unpicked raw edges. I pinned the two lining pieces together and then the two fabric pieces. I love refashioning my clothing. One of my favorite refashion projects was my skinny jeans into bell-bottom flared jeans. The link to the video with that DIY is at the top of the screen. I first did this project when I was in high school. I used a pair of Levi bootcut jeans that my mom bought me for back to school and some thin wale corduroy for the triangular inserts. I loved wearing them with a black embroidered blouse that I bought from Mariposa. I felt amazing. I ended up unpinning the pieces and repinning them because it didn't line up quite right. This purse is quite a bit smaller than the usual purses I buy. That's because I'm trying to move away from large bags so that I'm not carrying around an additional 10 pounds or so while I'm out shopping. Next, I pinned the back pieces right sides together, ensuring that the fabric was the same way up, just in case there was a nap. I'm thinking that this project would be a lot of fun with any color of blazer. I'm thinking an emerald green blazer that could be converted into a purse with a brilliant pop of color. I pinned the two side pieces together and then pinned the back pieces together to create a long strip for the shoulder strap of the bag. Your shoulder strap length will depend on the size of your blazer. If your blazer is too big or small, be sure to check the length of the fabric strip so that it is a good length for you. At the sewing machine, I sewed the pieces of the strap together first. When I was in high school, I made my very first bag. I made it out of a pair of blue corduroy pants that I grew out of. I love the navy blue color, and since I wore a lot of blue at that time, it went with everything, so I wore it every day. I didn't have a pattern for it, so I drew one myself using mostly rectangular pieces. I sewed it together and was thrilled with the results. Then I sewed the front pieces of the blazer together for the body of the bag. I started with the lining fabric first. I recently bought a new sewing pattern from simplicity.com for a Berta bag, number 7223, and it reminds me of the bag I made from the corduroy pants in high school. I love the flap closure on this bag and the long shoulder strap. So this purse was exactly what I was looking for. Then I sewed the self fabric pieces together. I'm looking forward to cutting out and sewing Burda Bag 7223. The suggested fabrics are heavyweight cotton fabrics and denim fabrics, so I've got some great ideas in mind. Then I basted the old purse zipper into the bag. It's basted to the self fabric only, not to the lining. I have safety pins at both ends of the zipper because there were no zipper stops. I'll show you how I created the zipper stops later in this video. I cut off the excess fabric off the sides of the strap so that it was the same width all the way along. Then I folded the strap in half lengthwise and pinned it. The two pieces of excess fabric that were cut off were folded in half lengthwise and pinned. These strips are two different lengths and will be used to attach the D-rings to the bag. One strip is 7.5 inches and the other is 5.5 inches so that I could layer the D-rings on top of each other on the front of the purse. At the sewing machine, I sewed the shoulder strap of the bag. I used a Schmetz universal needle size 75 or 11 to sew this bag. Instead of changing the needle for a new sewing project, I used the same needle that I used for another project, the Drawstring Beret by Saturday Night Hat. The other hat was a small project, so I thought that it would be okay to continue sewing with this needle. Then I sewed the loops for the D-rings. If you would like your D-rings to be layered closer together, then shorten the length of the longer strap. Next, I sewed the zipper into the bag. You may wonder why I use universal needles for most of my sewing projects. This is because universal needles have characteristics of both sharps and ballpoint needles and can be used with many different fabrics. It's a sharp needle with an ever so slightly rounded tip and is therefore suitable for both woven and knit fabrics. A universal needle keeps me from changing the needle when sewing assembly line style through multiple patterns and fabrics. I turn the shoulder strap and the loops right side out and press them. I also double check to make sure that the zipper I just installed worked. My next step was to add the zipper stops. I used some black double fold bias tape to create my zipper stops. I bought a package of 3.65 meters or 4 yards of black double fold bias tape for $2.80 from Fabricland online. I bought this bias tape for the cuffs and collar of McCall's 2138, a vintage princess seam dress with detachable collars and cuffs. I cut a short strip of bias tape, folded over both raw edges on the ends, and I pinned them over the end of the zipper to be sewn in place. Since the zipper I used came from another purse, it didn't have any stops since they were left in the part of the purse that was discarded. Next, I folded my D-ring strips in half, added the D-rings, and pinned them to the front of the purse. I started with the longer strip first since they'll be layered and the shorter strip would be on top. I like the spacing of the D-ring strips, so I pinned the last one into place. At the sewing machine, I sewed the zipper stops. I used black Coats & Clark all-purpose dual-duty thread that I bought from Value Village thrift stores. This thread was in a big bag of brand new Coats & Clark thread for $1.99. I think that there were 20 spools of black and white thread in the bag. Then I sewed the D-ring strips to the purse. The layered D-rings do not serve an actual purpose. I just like that they were gold and looked nice with the bag. Then I sewed the second D-ring strip to the bag. I was careful not to catch the lining as I sewed these pieces into place. Next, I pinned the lining to the zipper. I didn't baste it this time, I only pinned. I tested my zipper stops and they worked perfectly. The lining will be sewn to the zipper from the right side of the bag. Back at the sewing machine, I sewed the zipper and lining together. I sewed from the right side of the fabric to ensure straight stitching lines. I just cut out a Burda Easy bag sewing pattern. It's from their third issue of 2022, and it's called Arm Candy. To the office, on a shopping spree, to the lake. We think that this tote with ruffled edges will soon accompany you everywhere. No wonder, it has lots of room, is quickly made, and adds a decorative touch to almost any outfit. I thought that this bag would be perfect to hold my water bottle and lunch when I'm out traveling. I'm making the bag from a white fabric with blue and black flowers printed on it that I bought at Len's Mill store during their 75 to 85% off clearance fabric sale. Their entire selection of previously reduced fabrics was 75% off the lowest ticketed price, and if you finish the bolt, then it was 85% off. The link to that fabric haul is at the top of the screen. There was a lot of fabric left on the bolt, 11 meters to be exact, but I wanted it at 85% off. So I bought all of it and gave half of it to my mom. This fabric was originally $6.59 a meter for a total of $72.49, but since it was 85% off, I paid $10.87 for the full 11 meters. Next, I turned my bag wrong side out. At this point, I wasn't sure if I was going to sew the bag together with the right sides facing and then turn right side out, or with the wrong sides facing and the right sides out so that you could see the stitching. In the end, I wanted both edges to have the same curve at the bottom, so I chose to sew the bag together with the right sides facing. I used a glass to measure the curve of the edge to see if they were similar. Next, I used the glass and my white tailor's chalk to mark a curve on the other edge. I didn't cut off this curve, I just added it as a guiding line when I sewed the bag's front and back together. At the the sewing machine, I sewed the edges of the bag together. I used 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to keep the size of the bag as large as possible. Sewing the bag together in the way that I did ensured that there were no raw edges that could fray inside the bag. Every seam was finished and both pockets were functional. Again, I checked to make sure that the zipper still worked, and I pinned the shoulder strap to the bag. I made sure that all the raw edges were hidden inside the strap. Then I added the buttons to the pocket flap. These buttons are purely decorative and serve no other purpose, but I thought that they looked pretty. Back at the sewing machine, I sewed the shoulder strap to the bag. Since my bag is made from a durable polyester, I don't have to worry about my cute purse wearing out anytime soon. Here is the finished purse.
To complete the look, I'm wearing a Darjani blazer and a Joe Fresh tank top that I bought at Value Village thrift stores. The Calvin Klein dress pants are from the Hudson's Bay Company, and the shoes are from Payless. The knitted hat was made by my mom. The necklace was a gift, and the earrings are from Value Village. I hope you enjoyed refashioning a blazer into a purse with me. Please like and share this video with your friends and family. I love sharing my new, vintage, and out-of-print sewing patterns, and my tips, tricks, quick fixes, and even my mistakes when sewing along with you. I also love sharing my wonderful fabric finds that I thrifted from charity shops, as well as brand new fabric online and in-store. If you'd like to see more from Budgetsew, please subscribe and press the bell to receive a notification when I release a new video. If you'd like to stay up to date with Budgetsew, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Budgetsew. Thanks for watching. See you next time.